All right, well, thank you everyone for coming. We are about to start a very special presentation with our very special Lamech Katamba. And he's a man who in some ways needs no introduction, or the introduction would take the entire hour and a half. But Lamech has been working with the Albert Baker Fund since sometime in the early 2000s. And I will kind of let him tell you the things he volunteered for us prior to actually we had the wisdom to hire him. And he's done an amazing number of different things. And in my opinion, and we can talk about it more, I think he really helped bring Christian Science to East Africa. And so there's some amazing stories you'll hear. I guess without further ado, Lamech, please.
Thank you, Joe. And thank you, everyone. Yes, my name is Lamech Katamba, and I'm from Kampala, Uganda. I am married to Joy. She can't be seen here, but she's so beautiful. Yes, we have been blessed with triplets.
Oh my God.
Yes, Lyle, Lexi, and Lynette. Many people, when they hear the names, they usually say, "Oh, is it because you are Lamech? That's why you named them Lyle?" But it was out of love. Yes, we got it from them, love. So this is when they were saying goodbye to me when I was coming on 28th. And yeah, it was so emotional. Yes, next.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Thank you. So Lamech is born in Uganda and raised in Uganda. I was introduced to Christian Science in 1994. And I graduated from Makerere University with a bachelor's degree in development studies. Makerere University is one of the best universities in Africa. Probably we call it our Harvard in Uganda. Yeah, it is one of the best and the oldest universities in Africa. And I went ahead and also received a postgraduate diploma in microfinance in the same university before I got hired by the Mother Church, the Publishing Society, under the Department of Writings of the Mary Baker Eddy as the coordinator for sales of science and health in East Africa. And later also worked with the Principal Foundation. They had a project, Uganda project, and they were helping some Christian scientists in Uganda to access education. And when they stopped after, I think, the terrorist attack in Nairobi of the US Embassy, if you can remember, the Principal Foundation withdrew, but they left a gap. So ABF came in 2004. That's when I was approached by the Albert Baker Fund, and I started working as a volunteer until 2009 when I was formally hired. Next. Yes, this is our mission, ABF mission, serving the cause of Christian Science and humanity by providing resources for education and development of Christian scientists. This is very important for us. It helps, reminds us that we only do tuition. And this is our founder, Joseph Hard. He founded ABF in 1964. And after 40 years, ABF decided to expand internationally to Africa. And we made our first international award in Zambia. And you might ask why Zambia?
Why Zambia?
Yes, because I remember when I was approached by the Albert Baker Fund to start the international program, I was thinking, oh, nobody knows me in America. Who's going to trust me? So my teacher, my Christian Science teacher, was in Zambia. She was an American from Idaho. So I needed some kind of validation. So that's why I went to Zambia first. And then we moved to Uganda next with 3 more students in 2005. Then later we added 11 more countries, 6 English speaking and 5 French speaking. Although right now we have so far went dormant to 2 countries like Burundi and Tanzania. In Burundi, we have actually gone dormant in Burundi twice. At first, we went dormant because there was a war in Burundi and our staff couldn't be accessed. So we decided to go dormant. But then after the war, we relaunched, and immediately after we did the launch, we lost our ICR. And we were still struggling to find somebody trustworthy to relaunch. But if we find someone else who's very trustworthy, we might relaunch again. Then Tanzania, we went dormant because there is less CS activities. Most of the members there have moved to the US into nursing. So that's why we are dormant. So we are now remaining with 11 countries currently in Africa. Yes, this is the map of Africa, and this is where we went first before we moved to Uganda here. And you can see DRC is actually the biggest country in all those 11 countries where we are operating. Biggest in size, but also in terms of our program. Now in Africa, the Africa program has 2 permanent staff. Of course, with me, Lamech, I stay in Kampala. And then we have this gentleman, Dominique Vitang, is based in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Yaoundé is the capital of Cameroon. And he's also our former student, ABF student. We identified him when he was still a student, very, very active. And he also speaks French. So he speaks English and French. That is one of the reasons why we hired him, because he helps us processing applications from both the French Africa and English Africa.
If you go back a slide, you're going to point out Cameroon's. No, that's Dominique right there. Very young Dominique.
Yes.
Nigeria.
There he was still a student. And many other.
So who's that next to him?
Oh, yes.
Lamech.
Lamech.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry about this green red bar. I can't seem to get rid of.
So next. Okay, so we are currently having 18 ICRs in country representatives and 9 ICRs in the 6 English-speaking countries, that is Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Rwanda, Uganda, and Zambia. And then the other 9 are in the French-speaking countries, that is Benin, Cameroon, DRC, Republic of the Congo, and Togo, or in West Africa.
And Lamech, what do the ICRs do?
Or they do a lot of work for ABF, but primarily processing, helping us verify the information given to us by the students, but also by the schools. So the schools have to provide documentations. So the ICRs help us to verify those documents. But also they do have other works like mentoring our students. Yes. Can you go back a little bit?
Are they compensated by ADF?
Or ICRs are they are volunteers, but we compensate their expenses. Yeah, at least every quarter. Yes, we do compensate them.
Except the ones who refuse to take payment because they love it
Yes.
so much.
Yes,
They can't do anything.
because we actually tend to hire some of our former students as ICRs. So some of them have actually refused to be compensated. They say that is the only way they can give back to ABF. So even when we insist, sometimes they say no.
The CEO can go over to Africa and insist, and they still will tell us no.
Next.
Next slide.
These are some of our ICRs, like for example, you know this guy, this is Lamech. But this lady here, her name is Jacqueline Namsalisis, is the ICR for Uganda. She's one of our best ICRs. And there is this gentleman here, his name is Mr. Alfonsi Kesimana. He's the ICR for Rwanda. He's based in Kigali. And I think you know this gentleman. This photo was taken in 2023 when Joe came to visit Africa. So this was taken on the shores of Lake Victoria. And we are of course enjoying tilapia.
Mr. Alphonse survived the Rwandan genocide.
Wow. Wow.
Well, that's
What's the matter with the beard? I didn't know. That's Robin Joe.
Robin. Yes. Next. This is Rosie Awino. I like to say he's our best ICR in Africa. She's the ICR for Nairobi. So some countries are big and we have split it into 2 or more. Like for Kenya, we have Western Kenya and the Nairobi region. So this, the ICR for Nairobi region, and she's one of our best ICR in Africa. And she doesn't take any compensation. She refused completely.
And she's also a former student.
Yes, former
recipient.
Next. Oh, this is Mr. Frederick Kayadi, is the ICR for Western Kenya. I was talking to Joe. Next. Yes, this is Mr. Donna from Douala, Cameroon. Cameroon is an interesting country. It is like 2 countries in one. They have a region which speaks French. Almost everything is in French, and then they have another region for English. So Douala is mainly the English, and Yaoundé, the capital, is French. So this guy is our first ICR in Douala, but he has been replaced by this one. He's called Steve. This is Donna and Steve. So they are both from Douala, and they are also former students of ABF. Yes, and these guys come from DRC. DRC is our biggest field. Like I said in the beginning, the DRC is one of the biggest countries. It's the biggest country in all the 11 where we are operating, but also the program is big. And Christian Science is big in DRC. I think in Kinshasa alone, they have over 12 churches.
4 CSPs.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So we have split the program in DRC into 4 regions. So this is the ICR in Lokala region is Mr. Pembe Christian. This is Joachim Kininga for the Bakongo region in Boma. And he's a practitioner. And yes, this is Mr. Lobinga Christian. He's the ICR in Congo. So this is Dominique, my workmate.
Yeah.
And I think you know this guy. This is one of our former students. He's now an engineer in Kinshasa. This photo was taken again in 2023 when Joe visited Africa. Next. Okay, so now,
Just kind of recapping here.
yes, I think I will let Joe try to summarize some of the things I've just presented so far.
So
And
Katie
before that,
knows this trick of mine. You say something multiple times so people will get it. So just a reminder, we started in 2004, 40 years after we gave our first loan out as the Albert Baker Fund. And of course, we started in Zambia because of the Christian Science teacher who lived there and gave us some credibility to give scholarship. And then, of course, Uganda, because that's our favorite. I mean, that's where Lamech lives. I mean, that's where we went second. And then we added 11 more countries. We're dormant in 2, so we're currently active in 11 countries. And it's, that's our program at this point in time. And it's a dynamic program. So we started small, added additional countries, and then in places where it didn't make sense to continue, we'd go dormant. So that's kind of an ongoing process. So you can kind of see we're really in Central Africa, East Africa, which is mostly English speaking, and West Africa, which is more of the French speaking or Francophone nations. So, and, yeah.
yes, and these are now our requirements. And the main one or the major one is one has to be a Christian Scientist or a student of Christian Science. And next, you have to be a member of the Mother Church. And you also have to be having good grades. Then we also encourage in-country schooling, but although sometimes we allow like refugees who are legally staying in another country, they also have to be enrolled in approved, ABF approved schools. We have created lists of approved schools in every country where we operate. With the help of the ICR, they help us to visit the schools and compare them. And once they comment, we put them on the list. So all our students who are applying ABF, they have to make sure that the schools are on the list. However, if a student chooses to go to a school which is not on the list, we encourage them to write to us, and then we send our team to look and look at everything. And next, also, there has to be a financial need, which is usually determined by the ICR. And also, we have a maximum cap for our awards. So, but if a student chooses to go to a school which charges more than our maximum award, then that student must pay the balance first before we can send in our maximum award. And originally it used to cause a big challenge because, yeah, we had a lot of students applying for schools which were charging more than our maximum. And that was kind of slowing the process because we had to write to the students, ask them to first pay, and then sometimes they don't have the money, they have to go look for money first and pay and then give us a receipt before we can send the maximum award. But recently, the board was so nice to us and increased our maximum cap. So that has solved the biggest part of that problem.
To give you an idea of what that increase was, so our maximum award for a bachelor's degree had been $1,000, and now it's $1,500. We went up by $500 and essentially eliminated the problems for our process, but more importantly, it made it so those students had enough for their tuition. So, imagine the tuition, for the average student in most of our countries, $1,500 will pay for the entire tuition for the year. And so we increased our scholarships by $500. And now the students, there are schools that are more than $1,500, but there are plenty of good schools that you can go to for $1,500.
Okay, thank you. And this is how our program looks like since inception. And yeah, since 2004, we have been able to award close to 3,000 scholarships and a total of $3.6 to $6,000. And at an average, the average scholarship has been 1,240. And this is how it looks like last year. Last year, we were able to give a total of 191 international student scholarships, and the total award of 175,000 USD, and the average scholarship was 920. This is one of our students from Yaoundé, Cameroon, Rosaline. And here Joe was sharing a t-shirt. Joe, would you like to talk more about this?
So I like how Lamech says, I'm sharing the t-shirt. Lamech actually had these shirts made and said, here, Joe, hand this to Rosalie and we'll take a picture. So Lamech does all the work. I look really good in the picture and I'm willing to, give all the credit where it belongs, which is to Lamech. And Rosalie was so sweet. We also brought over some of the Albert Baker caps, and some of you have received them. I don't think Brian may have one, but it's a black on black Albert Baker signature on a ball cap. They were such a hit there. So Rosalie got one. She brought her younger brother. She was so grateful. She came to, do you want to have dinner with the Albert Baker Fund? Absolutely. So she was so grateful, wanted to express her gratitude to us. Brought her brother because she wanted him to be able to benefit from the resources of the Albert Baker Fund. There's other pictures that we aren't sharing here. One with her brother, wearing the cap sideways and looking like a real goofball with his sister, and hemming it up. But it was really sweet getting to meet Rosalie and the other people there in Cameroon. So it was pretty special trip, Lamech, that you set up for me. I hope that you will have as good an experience here in the States as I did.
Already, yes, I know. I'm kidding you.
Oh, and so one other thing, customs. I know Lamech, I got a text from Lamech. He went through customs and immigration in Dallas Fort Worth Airport. He said it was as easy as eating ice cream. When I asked him flavor, he said vanilla. When I went through customs and it was like 1 at night, Lamech was getting ready to pick us up, and I brought in, 50 hats. And so, what do you have anything to declare? Why have these 50 Albert Baker signature hats? Really? Let me see one. So I pulled them out. Can I have it? Correct answer, of course, is yes, sir. So there is some immigration customs official in the Entebbe airport potentially wearing an Albert Baker hat. So if you see him, I'll say thanks for letting us through. But so the hats were a huge hit, as Lamech told us. He goes, bring as many as you can. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So in other words, he was giving a password that if you ever come to Uganda, carry a BF app.
That's right.
Makes things easier. Yes, we would like to give you details for almost all countries, but that might take a lot of time. So we are just going to pick like one in the English speaking and probably one also from the French. In the English, I'll pick Uganda. Don't ask me why. Yes, in Uganda, since 2005, we have been able to give 245 scholarships at an average of 25 scholarships per year. And the total has been 240,000 USD, which is equivalent to this amount in Ugandan shillings. And the average scholarship is 980 per an academic year.
And I want to tell another story about with Lamech and I and understanding different cultures and realizing that we're in 11 countries in Africa means that there are at least 11 different cultures, and there's regional cultures as well. At one of the first presentations we gave to a Christian Science church, someone asked, what's the maximum award you give for each degree level? Well, I know that. I'm the CEO. I'm ready to answer the question. Lamech kind of grabs me, didn't quite, but he said, we don't share that information. And what the challenge is in that again, in some of these locations, whatever, you know, how much money do you have? And so we don't post that on the website. And so I was ready to do this, and Lamech, who understands, our program so well and handles it, covers very well on that one. So when we see these average scholarships are different, you're gonna be different amounts for each country, it's because it's 11 different countries and 11 different cultures, so.
And Joe, you wouldn't say it because it then becomes the model of, I can be a Christian Scientist.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, and also school. I mean, we don't need to talk about it, we're happy to, but I mean, some of the things that have been uncovered by Lamech and his teams, where once you know how much it is, there have been, registrars who say, great, we'll charge $1,500, or, you give us 1,200 and we'll split the other 300 between the two of us.
Well,
And that shows up because we have two students at the same school not being charged the same amount.
yeah, next. Oh, these are some of the students from Kampala, Uganda. Yes, this is Innocent.
Yeah.
He's doing a master's in cybersecurity and is an accountant. And this is Elizabeth. This is Dennis. He's our treasurer at the church, first church. And this is Elizabeth. She's an entrepreneur. She makes clothes and yeah. Even here, I think it was.
She's looking at the clothes, isn't
Yes.
she? Yeah.
Yes, and this gentleman, I've just forgotten his name, but he's also a member of the church in Kampala and he's our student too.
And Innocent was first reader at the church.
Yes, the first reader.
And there's actually a society when I was there, but now it's a church.
Is this Jeffrey?
No, he's another guy.
Oh.
The name, yeah. Let's move on. Next. Oh, yeah, this is DRC from the French part of Africa. Like I said, DRC is the biggest field. And yes, we have been able to give them 546 scholarships since 2005 at an average of 55 scholarships per year, which is almost double that one of Uganda, and totaling to 404,000 USD at an average of 740 an academic year. DRC is relatively cheap in terms of school fees. The university is relatively charged. I think they charge the cheapest in Africa. And these are some of the students from DRC. And yeah, you already saw this one is now an engineer. And most of these have all graduated. They are now working. Apart from this one is an ICR, but the rest are all students from DRC. Next. This gives us a summary of how the program looks like in the past 10 years. These are the number of awards per year in every country. And this is the average award an academic year in the country, in each of the countries. I think right now I can say merci beaucoup, which is thank you, and I'll open to questions. Yes.
Is this your first time in the United States?
No, this is actually, I was trying to do my homework and it's my sixth time.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yes, I was trying to share with her that I was in the US for the first time in 1998 for the pioneers of the spiritual millennium. And almost everything which has happened to me was from that conference. So I came back in 2002 when I was hired by the Mother Church to work as the coordinator for the sales of science and health in East Africa. Then I came back 2004, when ABF had contacted me to work as a volunteer. Then I came back in 2009, when ABF had hired me formally as a staff. Then finally I came back in 2010. Yes, so this is my sixth time.
Oh, 2014.
Yes, 14 years I was. Thank you.
And you were here?
I was here.
Or Jeff was here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Green one.
So it's been 10 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yes, but every time I come, it's different. Yes, I learn new things.
Mhm.
I meet new people, new places, and I think every time I come with a different kind of like my interest. So it's different, totally different. Yes, yes,
How did you come into Christian Science?
that's a
Long story?
long story, but I will try to. Yes, I remember.
Cover most of the details, it's
Yeah, because
very
it's
interesting.
really interesting.
Yes, I remember I was escorting a friend. In Uganda, the secondary education is divided into two. We have what we call the ordinary level, which is 4 years, the first 4 years after primary education. Then the final 2 years is the high school or the advanced level. So I just completed my O level, the 4 years of secondary school, and I was escorting my friend during holiday to go to his uncle to pick money for the high school, to start a high school. And that uncle was a Christian Scientist. So I remember when we entered the house and they left me seated in the sitting room and they went inside, I think in one of the bedrooms. I don't know where they went, but they entered it and they left me seated alone. And on the table, there was a small sentinel. You remember the small size, the already small size?
Yeah.
Yes. I was reading it and they came back and I quickly put it back because I had not asked for permission. So the gentleman said, "Oh, no, you can have it. If you want more, I can give you more." So he gave me like 4 more, which I took home and I read all of them. But all the stories or the testimonies I was reading, they were referring to science and health. And I didn't know what it was. I was thinking maybe it was some kind of a dictionary, and that was 1994. So after reading all of them, I brought them back because I didn't realize that he had given them to me for keeps. So when he saw me, he said, "What do you want?" He said, "I brought back the books I've done. I've read all of them." He said, No, they were yours." I said, "But I wanted also to know about science and health because it is written almost everywhere." I said, "Oh, that one." So he said, "Wait here." He brought a set of books, a Bible and this science and health. And I said, "Oh, these are our books. But if you want, you can come and join us in our church and then learn more about this." Of course, I was so quick. The following Sunday, I ran to the YMCA where he had directed me. And I remember coming late, around 15 minutes late, and I found them 4 people in the hallway of the YMCA, the corridor. And I was apologizing to them. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm late." They said, No, don't worry." Then I said, "Okay, can we enter?" And they said, "Enter where?" And they told me, "This is where we do it." And they had a table and 4 seats. So they looked for another seat and we sat there. And I saw them opening the books randomly. One individual was opening the Bible and another one opening science and health. And I actually thought that was the way everything is done. And we did that for almost 2 months until when a visitor came in from the US. Her name was Dr. Nancy Dorsey. She had come to start to teach in Makerere University. And after the service, she took my hand and she told me, "Oh, Lamech, there is a better manual-based way of doing the service. And if you are interested, you can come to my home." She gave me direction because I was the only young person there. The rest were all big people. And she took me there and I shared with her everything I was learning. And you know what is interesting? Every time I was studying these sentinels and now the books from church, everything I was learning, I was sharing it at school with all my friends. And almost every week, I was sharing new things and people were coming to me, but with questions again. And then that was forcing me to read, to study more. So when Nancy came in, I was like, oh, thank God. Because now I don't have to suffer alone. I have someone now to ask all these questions. So I became a mediator for almost 3 months, collecting questions from all students, going to Nancy, getting answers, and then take them back. And I got tired of that. I asked her for permission, and whether she can allow me to bring my friends there so that they can get first-hand information. And she allowed. So she gave us one Saturday. We planned all to go. I think we went around 20 kids. And she was very prepared to answer questions. And what was interesting, no single student asked a single question. They were all sharing how they are applying Christian Science. And they had never even shared with me. I didn't know they were already applying what they were learning. So that actually marked the birth of our testimony meetings, because I never knew about testimony meetings. So that's how they started on a Saturday. So every Saturday we started going to Nancy's place for a testimony meeting. And the rest is history. Yeah, one thing was leading to another, like that. And so Nancy, we really became so friends with Nancy. She's the one who helped me to come for the pioneers of the spiritual millennium. And I don't know how much time we have, but if you want me, I can continue to the experience at the pioneers of the spiritual millennium, because that actually changed everything. Because I remember coming to that conference, I had already applied to Principia. Nancy had helped me to apply to Principia because she talked to me that how there is this nice school, Christian Science school, which can be very nice environment for you to do your studies. And I said, oh, this is great. So when I came to Boston in '98, we learned about CSOs and of course, class instruction. And I was asking, what are CSOs and what does it take for someone to start one? And they said, no, even if you are one, you can actually start one. And I was like, I need to do that in Uganda. So immediately, when I went back to Kampala, I canceled my admission to Principia, which didn't go well with Dr. Nancy, because she was like, who's going to pay for you in Uganda? That was a scholarship, which I've just ruined. But interestingly, I was not scared at all, because almost all my entire life, someone was helping me from my village, because I didn't grow up in Kampala. I grew up in the village. The villagers were helping me to go to school, in primary school. And towards, I think when I was in grade 5, I also had another experience where somebody wanted to kidnap me from, we used to walk like 10 kilometers from the village through forest footpaths with a group of other kids to go to school in the next village. And somebody wanted to grab me for sacrifice. Yes, those were the rumors. Rumors were going out around that there was a new road construction going on, which was being done by the Yugoslavia. And indeed, kids were disappearing from the village. So we don't know how true that was about sacrifice, but what was true, the kids were disappearing. So when I survived that incident, because of course the guy couldn't catch me. He wanted to grab me. I ran to school. The rest of the kids ran back to the village. And I think this guy must have thought that it was easier to run after me, who was alone. But what he forgot is that I was the fastest. Yes, I used to win a lot of trophies for my school. I was a very good sprinter. So he couldn't catch me. So after that incident, all the teachers came to my village and talked to my parents that they needed to take me away from the village so that I sleep with the teachers at the teachers' quarters. I think they had already identified that maybe I could help the school to get a first grade. In my hometown or my village, getting a first grade in the national exams was almost never heard of. So they promised me that if I ever pass in grade 1, they would take me to the city. I don't know whether they were serious, but for me, I took it serious and I passed in grade 1. So they brought me to Kampala to study. And I'm mixing. But anyway, let me take you to when I came to the pioneers of the spiritual millennium. I met many people, including David Maxwell, who works now with, I think, I have no update where he works, but he used to work with Texas Instruments. So he came to me to visit me in Kampala the following year in 98. And he brought me a Macintosh computer, which he had hoped that I was going to use for communication, because he used to send me mail by post, taking maybe more than 1 month and then another one. So when he brought that computer, of course, he didn't realize that we didn't have internet everywhere. So, but for me, I decided to use the computer for typing, to teach myself how to type. And one day I decided to type my coursework, university coursework, which the lecturer was very impressed and he said, all the students should type their coursework like Lamech. Now, for me, I saw it as an opportunity to make a business. So I went around inviting students to bring their work, and I typed it for them. And I remember hiring a place outside the campus and putting a bench where the students can sit, and then I type. And what is interesting, everyone used to sit there and just look at me as I type, as if I'm doing mugging. And I never enjoyed being stared at. So I had to come up with an idea of bringing in Christian Science literature so that they can read and divert their attention so that they don't have to look at me when I'm typing. That was my intention, but it didn't work because now everyone was asking me questions about Christian Science. And yes, and you know, for me, when you asked me about Christian Science, that time was like you have switched me on now to talk about Christian Science. So instead of working, I was busy explaining. So I had to hire someone to type as I continue to explain. And that was the back of our reading room. And yeah, so now, of course, it was always very busy. But now I was thinking about how can I bring other people who are not bringing their work for typing. There are many other students who are not coming. So I came up with an idea of bringing in academic textbooks. So I created another section in the library, in the reading room, another section of academic university textbooks. I could go around in every department and find out the most popular textbook and then buy it and bring it into then I go around the university, telling students how I have another alternative library, which doesn't make you line up for long, because in the university, there was one library, and to get a book, you had to wait for almost a week. So this was a good alternative for students. So they were coming in for their academic textbooks, and then they see people, looking at the science literature. And I was, of course, talking to all of them. But what was also interesting, I bought more computers now for typing, and I had more people to type. They were also listening when I talk about Christian Science. So they all became members of our church, and they could now come in, jump in, and help me to explain. And every day I was thinking about how can I make it more accessible to other people. And like I was seeing people passing by, those who are not students, they don't come. So I was like, how can I bring them? And I came up with an idea of bringing in a telephone booth. Because those days there was mobile phones were only limited to rich people. So I knew if I brought in a phone booth, people would come in to make calls and then see. And it worked really. So at when you could see almost all the time, it was a place where everyone from all walks of life were coming into the reading room yes, and that is when the mother church learned about what I was doing, and they decided to hire me as the coordinator for science and health in East Africa. So you can see that it's been a long journey, and one thing is leading to another. Yeah. I'm sorry for
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
How would you describe the current state of Christian Science in the African countries that you're familiar with? Because in the US and elsewhere, I think people hear different stories about, you mentioned people come to the US to pursue nursing, and so we're not dormant in a couple of countries, but from your perspective and on the ground, how would you describe the growth today as it compares to the early 2000s when you were active initially?
Yeah, I think it is not uniform. There are some countries where it is really growing. Countries like DRC, and but also there are some countries where it is kind of going down because of the same reason you have just mentioned, like Tanzania and Ghana, where the number of applicants and probably the number of active Christian scientists in the countries is reducing. So but I think what I can say, according to my humanly speaking, I think where the conditions are tough, in those countries where the conditions are tougher, is where Christian Science is growing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, like DRC, it's challenging to be there. And Christian Science comes as the only alternative. And when it is your own alternative and you apply it and it works, it becomes a reason to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, but generally in Africa, Christian Science is growing. Yes. But also maybe related to that, I wanted to make it clear, there are some countries where when you looked at the summary of our program, there are some countries which have less awards. And one can easily think that, maybe it's because there is less activity. Countries like Nigeria. Nigeria has less number of applicants, but it's not because there are not many active Christian scientists. The only difference in Nigeria is most of the Christian scientists in Nigeria are not needy. Yeah, so they don't apply, even when I know there are many Christian scientists in Nigeria, but most of them are actually well off.
Seems like financial need might not be the same.
Yeah, it's different.
Right.
Yeah, of the slides you showed a number of students. Do any of them go to Makuri? Is it Makuri?
Makerere?
Makuri University, the Harvard of Africa? Do any of them attend there?
Oh yeah, we do have a big number of students who have gone through Makerere, and that comes with a lot of success stories too. We have a lot of success stories in almost every country, but I know those who have gone to Makerere, yeah, some of them are really doing very, very, very good.
And what's the annual tuition there?
It is very interesting. Makerere University, even when it is one of the top, it is not very expensive. So it is not the money, it is the grades. For you to enter this university, you have to have a lot of good grades, not necessarily a lot of money. So you may have the money, but you fail to go there. Yeah.
For last year, Brian, we had 9 students at Macquarie University and 4 additional students at their business school. So 13 students there last year.
So I'm gonna assume based on that answer, the tuition is less than 1,500 a year? Or more?
Yes. That's around there. 1,500 per year. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, I think
Harvard's about the same.
Yeah.
I think the good example is my wife. She's currently doing masters in Makerere, and you just said
Her award.
1,500.
Right.
And they're about $1,418. That's the last
Because
one.
Libby's approved enough of these, yeah.
Yeah, that might have been Libby's.
And this is one of the things that we looked at when we raised the amount of awards was, the top schools, it's $1,500 or $1,480. Our maximum should be covering that. So it's,
Thank you.
We'll see tomorrow morning, right? Tomorrow morning.
Yes, I expect us to meet more tomorrow and talk more about these things. Otherwise, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I will also want to take this opportunity to invite you to Africa. Thank you.
Great. And then for those playing along at home, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll, Robin, you might have work tomorrow, but Trudy, we'll see you at the board meeting, or we'll hear you at the board meeting.
I'll be tuning in as well. Thank you.
Oh, good, great. Well, we'll see you both then, or we'll hear you both then.
Right. You won't see me, but I'll be there.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Trudy. Have a nice night.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.